like. That is secondary. The image of God. Let me find this picture. The image of God, that term occurs 3 times in the scriptures, in the Bible. In Genesis 1 verse 26, that we mentioned. In Genesis 9 and verse 6, concerning Cain and Abel. And in 2 Corinthians chapter 4 and verse 4. Image of God. So watch this. The God of this age has blinded the minds of unbelievers, so that they cannot see the light of the gospel that displays the glory of Christ. What does the final bit says? Who is the image of God? Do you think that meant he looked like God? Do you think that meant he had the eyes of God? He had God's nose or God's mouth or God's height? Nah, I got nothing to do with that. There's nothing about physicality. It would seem to me to mean God's character. God's character. It would seem to me to mean the attributes of God. We talk about the image. And that is reflected through and by his sons, by me and you. So image cannot be physical appearance, because God is a spirit. So you want to see the character? You want to see the character of God in operation? Then to understand the image, isn't it? You would want to see the attributes of God in operation. Then you'd understand the image. I would take you straight back to the beginning, Genesis chapter 1. There was darkness. There was confusion. There was emptiness. And out of his character, and who he was, and who he is, and will always ever be, he said, let there be light. So, that's the image of God. We are designed to operate like that, because you are not a body. Stop trying to operate as if you're a body. You are not a body, but you are a spirit that's been loaned a body. Say that with me. I am a spirit that's been loaned a body. And so we talk a lot about identity. The reality is we cannot have an authentic conversation about identity if the starting point is a carnal man. Because you are not a body, but you are a spirit. So that reasons then that if we're going to have any conversation about identity, it must first be about a spirit identity. Are you with me? Spirit identity. Let me show you. Because in the spirit, that's where you find truth. Jeremiah chapter 1 verse 5 to verse 7 says this. Before I formed you, before I made you in your mother's womb, I chose you. I said knew you. And we're going to go into that word. Yeah? Before you were born, before you came out of the womb, I set you apart for special work, consecrated you. I appointed you as a prophet to the nations. Then I said, but Lord, I don't know how to speak. I'm only a child. Look at the response. But the Lord said to me, don't say I'm only a boy, a child or a youth. You must go everywhere I send you, and you must say everything I told you to say. I commanded you. Let's look at that. Jeremiah seems to have thought that he was a body. Are you getting this? And so because his mindset He's looking at not the spirit, but the physicality. He's looking at his age in this temporal world. And so he says, but I'm only a boy. And God was saying, don't you understand? When I see you, I don't see your physicality. It has nothing to do with that, because you're a spirit. And so God is saying, listen, stop, hold up, handbrake, turn. See yourself accurately. You are not defined by how much money you make, or how much money you're not making. You are not defined by your role or title. You're not even defined by your age. You're defined by the reality that you're a spirit. And so he corrected Jeremiah and he said, listen, stop seeing yourself like that, because you're a spirit. And when you begin to see yourself as who you really are, guess what happens? A lot of the restrictions that you put on yourselves, they fall away. A lot of the bars that you've imprisoned yourself in, they fall away. I was born in the wrong place with the wrong name, in a poor family. I live at the wrong postcode. No one died and left me a house or a heritage. Stop it! You're much more than that. You're a spirit. Watch this. So he speaks to Jeremiah. I promise you, that word, I said I was going to go back. He said, before I formed in your mother's womb, I chose you and I knew you. So hold on. That word, I knew you, is the word yada. What it means is, it means I cohabited with you. Oh my God. Listen to me. This was before he had a body. Scientists are discovering, studies have shown now, and what they've discovered is that a baby, even though it's in the womb, it is so intelligent. And you can train that child. You can train that child. Even before his body has been fully meshed together, you can train him. Because he's a spirit. Amen. When he's born, it's already too late. Come with me. So here we go. I knew you. Before you were formed in your mother's womb, I cohabited. The other word is, I understood you. The other word is, I informed you. The other term is, I was intimate with you. We were intimate friends. This is what God is saying before you had a body. What was he saying? He was saying, I endowed you. Yada speaks of being endowed. I endowed you. Yada also means teach. So what God was saying was that before you had a body and you were created in your mother's womb, I taught you some stuff. God! That's mad. I taught you some stuff before you had a body. Listen, you existed in the mind and the plan of God before you were in a womb. That's how special you are. You existed. Come on, say I existed. I existed in the mind of Christ, before I existed in the womb. You are not a mistake. I don't care what your birthing situation was like. None of you are mistakes. I don't care what your present circumstance want to tell you that you are not a mistake. It was all orchestrated before the foundations of the earth. Before your ancestors were born, God says. Before your great grandfather and mother were even conceived, God said, I knew you. God. So if he knew you before your great foreparents, ancestors existed, then that means he knew you before you had a body, doesn't it? So why do you think you're just a body? How is that possible? Your body was given to you much later. much, 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 much later, in the fullness of time. Your spirit, on the other hand, did you know that you existed before the foundations of the earth? Did you know that? I know women may not like this, but I'm going to hit you with some real truths now, yeah? Oh, she's looking right at me. You are older than you think. Oh my God. You are older than you think. Much older than you think. I put it to you that you are older than the universe. Amen. You are older than the stars and the galaxies, even the ones they have not yet discovered. You are older. Let me show you. Just in case somebody might think, what is he talking about? I'll give you the scripture. Ephesians 1 verse 4. Just as he chose us, he did what? He did what? Chose us in the Messiah before what? Before the creation of the universe, to be holy and blameless in his presence. Before the what? Creation of the universe. You are older than the universe. Say, I'm older than the universe. I'm older than the universe. Because I'm a spirit. I won't be long. So watch this. So before, let's put this in context. So before there was ever a let there be light, there was Phil. Before there was a let there be light, there was Sandra. You existed in the mind of Christ. You existed in the mind of God. Your body is a late comer. Isn't it terrible? Some people may have been in relationships where all the other party only wanted was your body. I'm not going to ask you to put up your hands. I won't do that to you. Because some of us may have been the perpetrator. Have you ever heard, you don't want me, you only want my body? Or probably you've been the one who said that. Oh my God. Because all you know is my body. There is no intimacy. There is no intimacy. Because all you're dealing with is my body. And so you're in a relationship and you're so alone. And then you hear, oh, he doesn't understand me. Or he says, she doesn't understand me. You know why that is? Because you're not a body. So anything or any system that's only catering to your body is going to leave you frustrated. Because you're a spirit. Because you're so much more than just a body. The Bible says he knew me. The Bible says we were intimate. The Bible says that before you were knitted in your mother's womb, we had a relationship. Have you ever had a relationship and it ended, person walked away or whatever happened and the person left? And one day you're walking down the street or you're driving or whatever the circumstances, you know what I'm going to say, don't you? And you spot the person. Amen, sister. And you spot the person. And in your heart, you at least want the person to acknowledge you. And the person does this. Sandra, stand up. Stand up, Sandra. Stand up, Sandra. I'm walking that way and Sandra is actually in the path I need to walk. And you know what happened? Look at me, Sandra. Stay where you are and look at me. And I just do like this. I just do like this. Sandra. Didn't even acknowledge. Didn't even acknowledge her. He knew you. Had a relationship with you while you were in the spirit form. So imagine after you possess the body. And Christ is right there, all in all. And guess what we do? Don't even acknowledge him. The Bible said he had conversations with us. He knew you before. Watch this. Romans 8 verse 29 said, for those whom he, so not only that he knew, he what? Foreknew. He also predestined to be conformed to the, there we go again, image of his son. In order that the sons might be the firstborn among many brothers. And those whom he also, okay. And those whom he called, he also justified. And those whom he justified, he also, okay. So watch this. Here we go. So he foreknew you. And those whom he foreknew, he predestined. And because he predestined you, there was an appointed time when he would have called you. You only call people because you have an intention, isn't it? Yes? Because you have an intention. Hebrews 10 and verse 5 says this. A body you prepared for me. A body you are prepared for me. So in the fullness of time, we see in the beginning was the Word. Yes? Spirit. But in the fullness of time, Jesus said, a body you have prepared for me. Jesus isn't a body, is he? He's a spirit. But in the fullness of time, he was called into a body. Now, he was called into a body for a reason. If you're going to dwell on this sphere, this level of existence, and you want to be expressed, you're going to need a body. Amen? And so, even though he is God, because he's going to be Savior of the world, manifested, he needed a body in order to be crucified. So he had to be called to a body for a purpose. Are you with me? So, that's his reality. So in eternity, he was summoned, he was called from the spirit realm into time, into a body. Don't you know that that's your story? Don't you know you're like your father? Existed in the spirit realm, and in time, because of purpose, you too was called into a body, into that earth suit that you're wearing. Same thing like Jesus, in terms of how it unfolded. So you're a spirit assigned to the body. And because you've been assigned to the body, the process happens where with the sperm and all that, and the egg and everything, and you're knitted in the womb of your mother. So that works itself out. But there are some consequences of living in this house, in that house. There are some consequences of living in that house. Because that house, your flesh suit, your body, it gets tired, doesn't it? Talk to me. It gets tired. It gets sick. It has so many limitations. You can only be in one place at one time. And it's like you are imprisoned in this aging carcass that's just growing old. And it gets run down, it gets the flu. But you are not a body. You are a spirit. Some of us are too tuned into our body. And so we say, I feel like, the other day I was home and think I was tired. And so I just felt drained, and it's like, because I was so tired, it's like the flu came. I mean, that thing came like a raging storm. And by the way, I'm not telling everybody to do this. That's just how God created me. I was so tired and worn out and just felt finished. And I felt weak, and I just felt, and my wife thinks I'm crazy. Because she said to me all the time, you don't know how to do anything in halves, you're just too much. But I felt really run down, man. You know what I did? I was lying there and it was just feeling worse and worse and worse. I was so tuned into my body that I just felt like I'll just lie down, give up and die. I'm being honest with you. And I got up and I went around to the side of the house and I grabbed my weights. I ain't telling nobody to do this. But I grabbed my weights